What's up, everybody? What's up, MGTOW? So in this video, I wanted to talk real quick about public-private partnerships, and more specifically looking at the tech giants and censorship. Now, a lot of people have been talking about the censorship from the Section 230 angle of whether or not Google is a publisher or platform. And I think that that argument is kind of getting worn thin, and especially because they have the Good Samaritan Act, which basically allows them to subjectively decide what content is considered obscene and what isn't, basically allowing them to take down any content that they choose and still remain within the rules of the Section 230. So the way I'm looking at this is more that the tech giants, and specifically Google, Amazon, and Microsoft, are federal government contractors. Now, as federal government contractors, and specifically federal government contractors that have contracts that are over $10,000 or more with the federal government, have to follow a specific set of government regulations, which I will link to in the comments below. And there's several sets of regulations for discrimination, the basic constitutional definition of discrimination, including religion, race, sexual orientation, all that type of stuff. So basically, any company, private or otherwise, that's contracted by the federal government is considered a federal contractor, and therefore they have to follow the Constitution using during their business practices. So I'm here at the FBI.gov website, and I'm looking at a few statutes that can pretty much show that what the big tech giants are doing is anti-constitutional. Now, the first section I'm going to read from is Title 18 of the U.S.C, Section 245, Federally Protected Activities. It says, "This statute prohibits willful injury, intimidation, or interference, or attempt to do so by force or threat of force of any person or class of persons because of their activity as." And then it says B, "A participant in any benefit, service, privilege, program, facility, or activity provided or administered by the United States," which means the federal government. And then in Section 2 of Title 18, Section 245, it says, E, "A traveler or user of any facility of interstate commerce or a common carrier." So that is basically Google and Amazon facilitate interstate commerce, and they're also a common carrier. So by this, saying that basically that they're not allowed to do what they're doing. Of course, they'll still do what they're doing. I mean, obviously, me reading these laws is not going to stop Google and Amazon from racketeering and basically going against the Constitution, even though they're receiving money from the government. Now, there's several articles I could read through. I'm just going to put a link to them down below showing that Google, Amazon, and Microsoft are receiving much more than $10,000 from the United States government, from the federal government. And the fact is, it's around $10 billion per year. And there's one article saying that the federal government is Amazon's biggest customer. And it's also the fact that their cloud services are servicing the CIA. I would say that it is part of the government. I mean, you can skirt around the issue and say, oh, it's a private company, but it's a public-private partnership, and it's just used in order to skirt around these laws because they're not allowed to do this stuff. And so anyone that's really defending Amazon or Google and saying, oh, they're a private company, first of all, they're not, because there's evidence to show that they're federal contractors and therefore they have to follow the Constitution, especially if they're receiving more than $10,000, which they're receiving around $10 billion. So they are violating people's civil rights. And so anyone supporting the violation of civil rights, I mean, are you really doing that? You really want to support the violation of civil rights? You want to say all these laws about discrimination, forget about those. We don't need those anymore, right? Yeah, well, we don't need those. Okay, so this second one I'm going to read from is actually Title 18 U.S.C. Section 242, Deprivation of Rights under Color of Law. This statute makes it a crime for any person acting under color of law, statute, ordinance, regulation, or custom to willfully deprive or cause to be deprived from any person those rights, privileges, or immunities secured or protected by the Constitution and the laws of the United States. This law further prohibits a person acting under color of law, statute, ordinance, regulation, or custom to willfully subject or cause to be subjected any person to different punishments, pains, or penalties than those prescribed for punishment of citizens on account of such person being an alien or by reason of his or her color or race. So basically what they're saying is you can't give different people different punishments under the law constitutionally. And so therefore, again, saying that these companies that have to follow the Constitution can't just make up their own rules and their own laws for people. Acts under color of any law include acts not only done by federal, state, or local officials within the bounds or limits of their lawful authority, but also acts done without and beyond the bounds of their lawful authority, provided that in order for unlawful acts of any official to be done under quote-unquote color of law, the unlawful acts must be done while such official is purporting or pretending to act in the performance of his or her official duties. This definition includes, in addition to law enforcement officials, individuals such as mayors, councilpersons, judges, nursing home proprietors, security guards, etc., persons who are bound by law, statutes, ordinances, or customs. So therefore, again, the CEOs, the owners, people that are running these major tech corporations are basically presenting themselves as some type of authority. And so therefore, they have to follow the Constitution when they're a federal contractor. All right, so this third one I'm going to read is actually Title 18 U.S.C. Section 241. Conspiracy against rights. This statute makes it unlawful for two or more persons to conspire to injure, oppress, threaten, or intimidate any person of any state, territory, or district in the free exercise or enjoyment of any rights or privilege secured to him or her by the Constitution or the laws of the United States. So again, with the racketeering, that's definitely a conspiracy against people to take away their free speech, which is a constitutional right. And because these companies are federally funded private-public partnerships, they have to follow the Constitution, and they're not doing it. So we can just see right there that the Section 230 thing isn't going to work because subjectively anything can be obscene. And these are more concrete laws actually saying that you have to follow the Constitution. And the fact that these companies are trying to pretend in public as if they're not part of the government when they're specifically government contractors and high-level government contractors, which a different set of rules applies to, a much more stringent set of rules. When you're collecting basically tax money from people in the country, you have to follow the Constitution, period. There's no question of whether they're a private company and they can do what they want, or there's no question of where does Section 230 fall. No, it's their private. They're a federal contractor in a public-private partnership with the government. They have to follow the Constitution as long as they're collecting tax money. And so they can't not discriminate against people for their views, for their political views, their religious views. They're not allowed to do it. Period. Whether they're a publisher or a platform, it doesn't matter because they're a federally funded institution. so they have to follow the Constitution. And that's just it. So you can say they're a private company all you want, and probably they will act as if they are a private company. I'm not saying that they're not going to just do whatever they want. Just like the government is just going to do what it wants. It's not going to follow the rules, not going to follow the Constitution. But that doesn't mean that it's right. It doesn't mean that they're correct. And it doesn't mean that anyone saying that they're a private company is correct. Because the information is right here. You can look in the low bar. I'm linking several articles proving that Google, Amazon, and Microsoft are federal contractors. And if we look at the rules, then we see that federal contractors have to follow the Constitution. And we can see that they're not following the Constitution. So therefore, that seems to be the avenue that needs to be corrected. But that's just my thoughts on the topic. Have a good day and go MGTOW.